At that stage in my career, I was probably moving around from place to place more frequently than I should have. But in hindsight, also, I realize I got a different perspective and skill set from every place that I worked at. And I'd like to think that the pizza that I make now and what I do now with Professor Pizza is so much more informed from the fact that I had a chance to learn from all these different great restaurants in and around Chicago. So
cool. So we're live, another episode of Adversity Kings. We have special guest today, Tony. Last name?
Scardino.
That's got to be like 1,000% Italian.
Yeah, precisely 1,000%. Yeah, absolutely. But I figured there was enough people out there with a vowel at the end of their name making pizza, first name Anthony or Tony. So we go by Professor Pizza just as much as Tony,
Professor Pizza. Is that where everybody can find you social media wise too?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like that, right? In Instagram is where we're really most active.
Yeah.
I would say having a ghost kitchen or not having a dining room, I consider it almost like the front door of my business. So
yeah,
we're pretty active on there.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So my best friend growing up was Italian.
Okay.
Pizza shop. They still got it today. It's Gioio's. And the dad that ran the shop, his name's Tony.
Yeah.
Anthony Gioio. And their pizza was fire. Everybody would always be like, you know, what do you guys do? What do you guys do? You put, is it a sweet sauce? You know.
That's a secret, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't completely throw it out there. It's not the sauce though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I worked for him for a while, and
sure.
It's absolutely fire. It's a different style. I wouldn't consider it like a deep dish or even like a completely like a thin crust, but I mean it's fire, and it's so different. Like working in like, especially working for an Italian like dude that's older. That was like
it's a particular breed of people.
Yeah, bro. It was one of the most humbling, but simultaneously like with it sometimes being humiliating. Like at the same time, I knew how much the dude cared about me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because he treated me like I was best friends with his son. I mean, we still talk. We're
a lot
like
of tough
this
love in that world.
It's almost like it's like only tough love. And but I appreciate it a lot because my dad wasn't in my life, so like that was like kind of my dad because it was tough love. I mean, we'd make meatballs at 6-7 a.m. and we'd cut cheese in this big machine, and it was a pain, and have to store it up, and it was a whole cool experience. You know what I mean? Working the ovens, the pizza ovens, and burning the backs of your arms on spinning around and different things like that. But so what about your story and how, like how'd you come up? Let's start from even the very beginning, like growing up.
Yeah, growing up, grew up in the northwest suburbs in a community called Hawthorne Woods. Went to Stevenson High School. Grew up in a family that was always, I would say, people say, oh, I'm Italian or I'm Italian American. I would say, to be fair, we're American Italian. I think we do a lot of things that are on par with a lot of Italian upbringings, but at the same time, like, I had a pretty American upbringing as well, and I don't like to hide from that reality. But with that said, food was very central to the household. We grew up in a home that was often used for celebrations, holidays.
Were the Sunday dinners at your house growing up, or your
grandma's
house?
That's why I make the distinction, because it's like you get into some Italian American households or even certainly Italian households in Italy where that's like clockwork. You don't miss a Sunday. And we had stuff like that, but it wasn't like every week you're going to see your extended family.
Okay.
And I kind of wish we did have that, but, people live busy lives, and it's not like the old world where everybody lives, on the same block in the same neighborhood, So it was always a treat whenever I could see the extended family. But, there was just saying, so had a upbringing that was very food centric. Not only was it central to all of the entertaining, but when I was super young, my dad was working 2 jobs as he was making his way into commercial real estate. He still was catering. They had a catering operation at the time called Strawberry Catering. Their thought was, who doesn't like strawberries?
Yeah.
And prior to even me being born, they had a variety of different restaurants at the same time on the same block in Round Lake, Illinois. So restaurants and food and hospitality have, always been in the blood, like it or not. And so eventually I started gravitating to that. But growing up, I didn't think I'd be in food.
Yeah.
I loved music and DJing and hip hop, and I always had that entrepreneurial spirit in me.
Yeah.
Started out at a very young age with a mobile DJ company, and before I could even really call it a company, it was just like my boombox in a red wagon that I was like bringing over to my neighbor's house for a graduation party and playing my book of CDs, and he threw me $100 at the end. I'm like, we might have something here,
Yeah.
you know? So I think it's always empowering as a kid to have that first opportunity to make your own money and save your own money.
Yes.
And kind of build something on your own, or at least I found that to be the case with me. So started in that realm, and eventually went to school for that. Not specifically DJing, but like music business in general.
Yeah.
At Columbia downtown in the city. And like a lot of other people that go to Columbia, and I don't mean to disparage the university, but I didn't finish there, you know, and I think for me it was for the better, because I came to realize, okay, this is more of a hobby than something that you love enough to dedicate the rest of your life to, you know, career-wise. So eventually I got out of that, and well, being young and I guess entrepreneurial and wild enough to take chances, I linked up with a friend of mine and moved to Los Angeles and tried to get into medical marijuana. It was super early on in, I don't know what you'd say, in that industry for doing that sort of thing. Like, it didn't have the restrictions and just like the professionalism that you see surrounding a lot of the dispensaries and I guess cannabis culture in general at that time. And so we weren't organized. We were certainly goofing off and getting high all the time and just eating out and spending money as quickly as we were making it and cutting corners and sending it back home, trying to make up funds that we weren't necessarily making in a totally crowded Los Angeles cannabis market. So eventually got caught up with the law, and it became quite obvious that I needed to find a new career path.
Yeah.
So I moved home, and my father, being into commercial real estate at that point, had a client out in Waukegan in the suburbs that was opening up a pizzeria and Italian restaurant. And he's like, look, I know you keep on bringing up these pizza aspirations and food aspirations, and had a chance to eat at a lot of great restaurants in LA that started to inform that passion. Here's an opportunity for you to be on an opening team of a restaurant. You know, he was telling me there were people in this business, and it's true, that they might have worked in a lot of restaurants throughout the course of their career, but never had a chance to work on an opening team. So I jumped at it and stuck there for a while, but that was just kind of my intro to bouncing around from place to place and learning what I could learn. Eventually I was like, Dad, I think I need to formalize this career a little bit with an education. I think I'm ready to go to culinary school rather. And he said, look, you know, we just spent a bunch of money trying to get you out of a nightmare of a mess in Los Angeles. We spent a bunch of money on you going to Columbia for music business. You dropped out of there. I'm not ready to spend a bunch more money on you going to culinary school. So there's this program that I'm aware of because I had a cooler donated from a former florist shop that he was handling the real estate of. He had the walk-in cooler donated to this place called Inspiration Kitchens, which is a soul food restaurant in the Garfield Park neighborhood of Chicago. But the cooks of that restaurant are also the students of that free cooking program or culinary program, right? And that program offers people kind of a second lease on life and a chance to learn a trade that hopefully can carry them throughout the rest of their life, and they can make some money and provide for themselves or their families or both, right? And I always say when bringing that up that I was probably one of the more fortunate people to ever go through that program. However, at that stage in my life, certainly coming off some legal troubles and a quote-unquote career that I needed to step away from, this was something I really needed at that stage. So I went through that program. It was, about a 2-month program. in that time, my daughter was born, so I was kind of going through that in life too, as a very young parent who was still trying to find their way in this world. But the thing that Inspiration Kitchens did for me more than anything else is it introduced me to the concept of staging, which is originally a European practice or a French practice, where I guess the full term of that is stagiaire, and that's somebody in the kitchen who's there for, in the modern sense, a shift or two, for free, so that they can get a sense of what that restaurant is all about, a sense of what that kitchen's all about, and more importantly, the chef or the owners can get a sense of your compatibility, your passion, your drive, your work ethic, your speed, your aptitude, and ideally maybe they offer you a job at the end of that stage. In Europe, this could go on, for some months. In the US, well, it can go on for months as well. It's also more common to see like a 1 or 2 shift stage situation, right? Before you're potentially offered a job or, a thanks but no thanks sort of scenario. And what that did for me was very simple. It gave me opportunities to start working in Chicago restaurants. And some of those were pizzerias. Some of those were, more on the level of fine dining or refined dining, as I call it, which is maybe not fine dining, but still a step above, your run-of-the-mill, I don't know, mom and pop restaurant. And at that stage in my career, I was probably moving around from place to place more frequently than I should have. But in hindsight, also, I realize I got a different perspective and skill set from every place that I worked at. And I'd like to think that the pizza that I make now and what I do now with Professor Pizza is so much more informed from the fact that I had a chance to learn from all these different great restaurants in and around Chicago. So I would say that's a lot of it right there.
So getting into building up your own restaurant then with Professor Pizza, do you guys do other dishes outside of pizza or like?
We're starting to. So, as I might have mentioned, we're in a ghost kitchen facility.
What's that?
So ghost kitchen, for those that are not familiar, is really just, it can exist in a variety of different ways, but they all have one thing in common, which is that they don't have a dining room, right?
Yes.
So this is where different brands can have a lower point of entry to getting their food out to the public. So it's a carry out and delivery only model.
Yeah.
Usually they're ordering online, sometimes through the phone, but in our case, strictly online. We're available through, a handful of different platforms. We do a lot of our business on Toast Tab, but we're on the ones you've probably more readily heard of as well, DoorDash, Grubhub. Yeah. And it was just a lower barrier of entry for us to start to get our pizzas out to the public, right? So people drive up or get delivery, and we do a variety of different styles. I think we're doing like 5 different styles right now, from New York, Sicilian, Grandma, Chicago, Chicago Cracker Thin, Detroit. We've got some gluten-free, some vegan options. We're starting to get into sandwiches. Yeah, the menu's expanding, but we also plan to be in a proper brick and mortar with a dining room on site come hopefully February.
Now, what is grandma style pizza?
So if you're familiar with, pan pizzas like Sicilian style pizza, or even like a focaccia, think a thinner, crispier version of that pie, traditionally speaking, that's done in a 12 by 12 pan. It's opened up in a generous amount of olive oil. So when I say opened up, I mean you're used to pizza makers maybe tossing the dough in the air. You're going to do that with a pizza that's cooked directly on the deck of the oven. When you're making a pizza in a pan, you're not so much tossing the pizza dough as you are maybe dimpling or extending it open with your fingertips within the pan. And a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, you're using some variety of fat to do that, as opposed to like a flour that you'd stretch in or a semolina that you'd stretch in. So in our case with the grandma style, we liberally coat that pan with extra virgin olive oil, and then we begin to dimple out that dough and allow it to proof over time, expand, rise, and kind of develop that structure before it sees any bake time.
Now, what about Chicago cracker thin?
We do that as well. It's a totally different process, but something super thin, crispy. We have a lot of respect for the tradition of making that style of pizza, but also we're not afraid to put those traditions aside for innovation at times. I came up under 13-time world pizza champion Tony Gemignani, who's based out in San Francisco. He's like the Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods or what have you of independent pizza on a global perspective, in my opinion, and many others' opinion as well. And with his help, we've developed kind of an offshoot of Chicago cracker thin that we'd like to think fixes a lot of the downfalls of that style. And if you grew up in this area and had a lot of those pies that are cut into squares, all the coveted slices are on the exterior of the pie, and the ones in the interior don't hold up to the weight or the moisture of the toppings, and those are always the soggy pieces. So, without giving away too many details, so to speak, we've made alterations to where those interior pieces have
consistency.
Yeah, have the same sort of bake as the exterior pieces, right? So we have a lot of fun with that style for sure.
Do you have different style ovens, or is it all one style of oven that the pizzas all get done in?
Yeah, right now all of those are in one style oven, which is a brand called Pizza Master, and the variety of oven it is an electric deck oven. For many years in this industry, you would see gas ovens, and gas ovens are still great, and they're still going into plenty of pizzerias to this day. But there's definitely a trend for the past several years in the pizza world of going more towards electric oven for added control and specificity of temperature and distribution of temperature throughout the oven cavity, and a bunch of geeky things like that go into
it sounds like a
creating
trader.
the right product. So
yes,
we use an electric oven for that, but we do a lot of mobile events as well. And when we do those, we have either uni ovens or Gosney ovens.
So you have like a pizza professor truck.
So we don't have a truck right now, but in time we probably will make an investment into something like that. But we have different mobile setups depending upon what we're doing. We might set up one way if we're going to be doing a festival, VIP area. We might set up a totally different way. I do a lot in the comedy world with comics and bringing them pizzas backstage, and that's going to be a totally different mobile setup as well.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
and that's a big end. I feel like every comedian has to love pizza.
Yeah, I think there's a synergistic relationship there between just like making people genuinely happy, and maybe distract them from some of those real world stressors out there, whether it's through some great food or laughs or what have you. I kind of see us all indirectly or directly a part of the hospitality industry. So
absolutely.
We're here to serve.
Now you said you don't when you're cooking I don't know what style of pizza, but when you throw it up in the air, you said you don't do that with some pizzas.
Yeah, so like I would do that with a New York style pizza, for example.
Yeah. What does it do?
Which we serve. It opens up the pizza dough. It's part of the stretching process.
And it opens it differently than if you were to like knead on it and expand it with your fingers.
Yeah, when you're dimpling it, you're looking for more of a how would I put this? Consistent rise on the exterior of the pizza and the interior of the pizza, right? You want it to all rise evenly. When you're making New York style pizza, you want it thinner on the interior of the pizza, but thicker near the exterior of the crust, or in Italian, or in pizza jargon, we call this a cornicione, which is Italian for crown, right? So you want that raised crown on the exterior of a New York style pizza. So when you begin to extend that dough with your hand, you're doing so leaving a lip, and everybody has their own stylistic opinions as to how big of a lip or crust or cornicione you want to leave on it. But you're leaving some on the outside and then getting your knuckles under it, and extending it from there. Some people do it while it drags on the table so that they're not creating as much tension on the dough or the gluten network, and some people really want to exaggerate that stretch by doing it in the air. And so we do a little bit of both.
Now, what's your favorite style of pizza?
Man, it changes all the time. I think ultimately we have a unique opportunity in being a smaller pizzeria to put things on and take things off the menu as we please. And so whenever we're working on something new, whatever style that might be, like that's my favorite thing to make in the moment because that's what I'm trying to perfect in that moment. So
what are you working on then in this moment that you're really enjoying?
Right now, I'm lucky to have the support of my chef, Mike, who goes by the Peacemaker. Love to get him tagged in this as well. But, for so long, I've kind of like creatively driven Professor Pizza, and I'll certainly continue to do that. But we're starting to build something that's bigger than just myself here, which, I'm so proud to say that. And he's put forth kind of like the groundwork to a bread program and sandwiches. And so we're starting to do our own like semolina baguettes and seeded and unseeded and focaccias and seeing how those can work their way into a sandwich program that does justice to our pre-existing pizza program. So we did a gig this weekend where I busted out some meatball subs, and to do that on our own, handmade bread was a pretty big treat for myself as well as the guests. So it's the bread program right now that I'm really pretty excited about.
Wow.
Even in its intro stages.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then I want to just for the audience,
Sure.
What is focaccia again?
Yeah, focaccia is so it's a Italian bread that is baked in a pan, and it's one of these breads that we're going to dimple out with our fingertips, and that's going to create the shape and the structure and the rise of that particular bread. These breads are topped in the way that a pizza might be topped, but usually sparser with the ingredients. And if there is cheese on it, it's probably a drier, more grated cheese than something that's going to be more melting forward, like a mozzarella or a provolone or something in that realm. So it's something that allows the bread to shine a little bit more than maybe the toppings that you'd see maybe in a Sicilian pizza or a grandma style pizza. So it's at the intersection of pizza and bread. Yeah.
Who's you talked on comics and trying to kind of tap into that niche and obviously make some type of compatibility with your pizza. Who's your favorite comedian?
Favorite comedian of all time is probably Tom Segura.
Yeah.
And he's been on my hit list for some years now in terms of people that I would love to.
What's that special? Is it Lone Wolf or the?
Well, I know he's got Ball Hog out there.
I think there's like a Gray Wolf or a Gray something. One of his specials
as big of
on
a
Netflix
fan as I am, I should have more of the special titles memorized, but I know Ball
If it's
Hog
not
was,
like on Netflix,
was the last one.
I don't know if I've seen the specials.
They're all killer. They're all killer.
Yeah,
but,
Segura's fire though.
Yeah, he's my favorite of
Bill
all time.
Burr, Segura.
Bill Burr's killer. He's coming to Chicago soon.
For real?
In November at the United Center. I hope to be bringing him pizza. But
yes,
whenever you're dealing with somebody of that, kind of level,
he's blown up.
It's such a last minute thing if it happens or not. So we've been all the way to the goal line and seen it not happen. And then I've had.
Did you do anything with the Rogan a couple months ago or a month?
Oh, I had COVID at the time.
Wow.
I would have had such an easy in at Zany's. They take really good care of me over there. Shout out to Zany's, Chicago and Rosemont. And Nashville, even though I've never been to there. He kind of did a smaller club set there before he did the Chicago Theater, which is another venue I work all the time.
Wow.
And I would have been a shoe-in and just didn't want to get the man sick.
Yeah, no, that's respectable.
Even if he had his ivermectin on hand, right?
The horse meds.
Yeah.
So, talking about other states, are there other states out there outside of San Francisco, or maybe even including San Francisco, the gentleman that you named, that's the godfather of pizza? Is there favorite pizza places that you go for inspiration when you travel?
Yeah. So, pretty poignant question because I just got back from New York.
Okay.
And I'm hoping to go there more often, but haven't had the chance to get there much, and it's the first time I've gone to New York since the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so it was just like a deluge of pizza. I was eating pizza all day, all night, and throughout the boroughs. I didn't get a chance to get to the Bronx or Long Island, but we ate pizza certainly in Manhattan and Queens and Brooklyn. And I would say of my favorites were, in Manhattan, I liked Arturo's a lot for coal-fired pie. I liked Vito's Slices and Ices. For Brooklyn, and I really loved Mama's Too, which is also in Manhattan. For Brooklyn, I really loved Lindustry, and where else in Brooklyn was I really a fan of? Feeney was great, brand new pizzeria in Brooklyn. In Queens, Belushi's, the real Belushi's, which is important because there's two on one block with the same name. That was incredible. And so I'd like to take a little different nuggets from each place and see how I can bring it back home and incorporate it and put my own spin and stank on it.
Has the Barstool guy ever stopped by?
Dave Portnoy, he's like Santa Claus, like you're so excited when he shows up, but he's so elusive. We've been trying to get his attention for some years now.
Yeah.
We've had the Ghost Kitchen for maybe 8 or 9 months now, probably 9, and different iterations of Professor Pizza through pop-ups in the back of sports bars to my apartment over the pandemic, and all throughout that time I've been trying to get his attention. I've not succeeded yet, but I will.
Do you have TikTok? I feel like TikTok would get you a lot of exposure.
I do have TikTok, and it's something that we're kind of more so newly exploring, so it's not as mature as our Instagram page, but we're trying to be as active with TikToks and Reels as possible.
It's so better than Instagram. It's so unregulated, especially for like realistic audiences, opposed to like Instagram has so many bots where it's like you don't know. It's like if it's just
These are really your fans.
Yes. Is it really a fan or is it some like Asian phone room, some deep place in Asia. So
I mean, at the end of the day, we realize that like videos are being rewarded by the algorithm a lot more than still images.
And YouTube Shorts, once you're over 1,000 subs now, they're going to start to monetize.
Oh, okay.
And so you'll be able to make a couple bucks. And if not, I mean, some of these guys make millions of dollars through YouTube. But it's something that's like something as catchy as pizza. People love like the what's the ASMR or something, the sound.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you're cooking and making all the food and everything like that shit would blow up.
And of course, there's all these personalities right now in the food world that are strictly online based. Back in the day, it was the Emeralds and the, Gordon Ramsays and the Bobby Flays of the world. But now it's like Meals by Cooge and Mo Mozzarella and all these guys. And I'm hoping to take my slice of the pie, pun intended. Right?
Yes.
So,
do you have toppings you don't like?
Probably, but not like.
You do pineapple on pizza?
Yeah, we do. We've got pineapple on pizza. We've got pineapple and ranch on the same pizza.
Do you like pineapple on pizza?
I think it can be done right, and I think it can be done wrong, and I think it often is done wrong, but if you put a little bit of extra attention into that ingredient and how you prepare it and how you place it on the pizza, do you do it pre-bake, post-bake? In my world of like more gourmet or elevated pizza, it's not uncommon for us to put on more ingredients after it comes out of the oven than when it goes in the oven.
Yeah.
So something is moisture laden as pineapple, we'd maybe reserve till either later in the bake or after it comes out of the oven entirely.
That makes sense because all that moisture would just expand through the crust.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Cause more sogginess.
Exactly.
Just an expansion of flavor where you can kind of micro it.
Right. For that same reason, we do a lot of sauce on top to create a barrier with the cheese. And
what's that style when the sauce goes on top?
Well, now you're seeing that all the time throughout different styles. But it was something that, traditionally speaking, you would see more so with pan pizzas. I think it was born a lot out of like Sicilian pizzas and sfincione, which is the true Sicilian pizza in Sicily.
Yeah.
but you'll see things like a Brooklyn splash or a full coating of sauce on top of the cheese, even like on a New York slice.
Yeah.
You know?
What's the highest recognition you can receive as like a pizza shop? Like I think I've been to 1 or 2 Michelin star restaurants.
Uh-huh.
Can you get a Michelin star as a pizza shop?
Yeah, you can. I mean, Michelin's not like exclusive to any style of cuisine.
Okay.
I think you can definitely get them. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Not to say that they're not out there. Plus, Michelin has the Bib Gourmand classification as well, which is a lot more attainable than a 1, 2, or 3 star. But in our world, we have all the respect in the world for the fine dining culture. We kind of do our own thing, right? Yeah. So we have these competitions, and that has a lot to do with more so us as individual pizzaiolos or pizza makers than it does maybe so the whole pizzeria. But it is something that, as a pizzeria owner, I can bring back to my pizzeria and say, hey, I do compete with the World Pizza Champions, as I do, or I have won X, Y, and Z award at the World Pizza Games or in Parma or in Atlantic City, which I have not yet. So in our world, those competitions mean quite a bit. Just the overall appreciation from our colleagues, means a lot. I think more so in communities like pizza and barbecue, you see just incredible community.
Yeah.
We're all competing against one another, but it's a friendly competition, and we're probably more concerned on how we elevate the whole industry and the whole art form forward than we are one-upping or outselling our fellow pizzeria. So, it's a lot of personal victories for us, for sure. But I'll be honest with you, if Dave Portnoy's been a big force in our industry the last couple of years that he's been active.
Oh my God, he makes me want to just go try pizzas and record.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I wouldn't necessarily. I like the guy. I think he stands for a lot of great things and sheds a lot of great light on small businesses. I would also say he's not necessarily like the standard for absolutely exacting pizza knowledge. He's more of a casual guy in his knowledge of pizza, but what he can do for an independent business, can't be ignored. It's a huge impact.
So kind of like how wine has sommeliers. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Is that what a pizzaiola is?
So a pizzaiola is a pizza maker.
Okay.
So anybody that's making pizza on some level is a pizzaiola.
Is there terminology, or is there anybody that the pizza world uses to like a sommelier, like reference like a pizza master?
It's a good question. There are judges of these competitions, and these judges are people that are of this world. So they might be expert bakers, they might be pizzeria owners, they might have been former competitors themselves. So certainly there are, these people that we look to for guidance and credential. But if there's a specific name for them, I don't know it.
Now, have you traveled outside of the country?
A little bit, but not professionally speaking yet. So,
do you have any, I guess, aspirations to go outside of the country and like specifically look for like what are pizzas in like some Mexican town, you know what I mean, South America, and like and also that, but also just like first and foremost represent the World Pizza Champions on an international level and compete with them. Where does that take place? Does it switch up?
There's competitions throughout the world, but there's a major one in Naples. There's a major one in Parma, Italy.
Okay.
There's major ones in Spain.
Okay.
So it really depends.
Yeah, that's what I wonder about. Like, if you were to just travel, obviously, like Italy just makes sense, but like other countries, I wouldn't recommend going there now, but it's like, what would like Russian pizza be like?
Sure. Well, I can tell you this. I mean, there is incredible pizza taking place in regions of the world that you wouldn't even expect it. Like, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but there's a Netflix docuseries that came out recently, Chef's Table Pizza, and they put a spotlight on this one pizzaiolo who's based in Japan. And you wouldn't expect this incredible Neapolitan pizza to be coming out of Japan, and yet, the Japanese people are super dedicated towards whatever they decide to delve into, and pizza's no exception. And when we look at the acrobatic like dough tossing competitions that take place in Vegas every year, oftentimes it's the Korean teams that score very high.
Yeah.
So pizza's got a global reach.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I never even thought of that until we had this conversation.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Now, what about outside of pizza? What kind of hobbies do you have outside of comedy and pizza? Movies, shows, other food?
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk about other food. Like, we do a lot of pizza that shines a spotlight on cuisines other than Italian, other than pizza. We do a Euro-style pizza with my uncle's tzatziki. My uncle's Greek, I should mention. Tzatziki recipe and Kronos Euro slices and all of that. So, absolutely, food outside of pizza and Italian. I think that all informs what we're doing, with the menu, and keeps it exciting and new. And I think if I ate pizza all the time, even if it was other people's pizza, it would kind of stint what we're able to do creatively. So, I love eating other cuisines. Comedy is huge for me. I try and go out to as many shows as possible, whether it's, big time, touring headlining acts, or even local Chicago comics that I'm lucky to call my friends in many cases, and so comedy is a huge part of my life. But yeah, I've got two kids that take up quite a bit of my time as well. One of which I'll be picking up from school after this. So, yeah, being a dad's right up there at the top of the list as well.
So, what about? I always ask everybody: do you have a favorite movie? Do you have a favorite TV show?
Do I have a favorite? Honestly, TV show one quicker because it's just coming to me quicker. I'm a big Curb Your Enthusiasm fan. Love that. I don't know about favorite of all time, but I definitely watched that Dahmer series recently.
Yeah.
That was pretty wild.
Yeah, that shit was.
Movies, 25th Hour's up there. American Psycho's pretty crazy. All the...
Is the American Psycho, is that... Or no.
It's a Christian Bale movie. He's... kind of a murderous businessman. It's a wild movie from the 90s.
I think I'm thinking of the... have you seen The Accountant? The kid, he has some type of disability when he's a kid, like odd. You know what I'm talking about? He had like autism or something like that, and he would,
I don't know if I've seen that or not.
He would like beat out his legs, and then he came with like some type of like serial murderer, but he was an accountant as well, so it was kind of psychotic.
I feel like those are along the same lines as American Psycho, but I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, no, it was a solid movie.
Yeah.
So what's kind of the future vision as we wrap up? Expand into other states, just capitalize right here, see where it takes you day by day?
Yeah, I mean, so frozen pizza is going to be big for us.
Okay.
Like even in the next couple months.
Dope.
We intend to get it out there in a variety of different ways, whether that's through local boutique grocery stores or bars that either have a minimal kitchen or maybe no kitchen at all.
Yeah.
And then certainly online eventually. There's services out there like GoBelly, which maybe we'll utilize or maybe we'll do it independently, but those offer you the opportunity to kind of overnight your pizzas anywhere in the country and kind of get the brand out there a little bit more that way. So I'm just excited to do that. I'm excited any opportunity I have to further marry my love for comedy and food together. But I feel like the more I try and plan the future, the more I get in the way of whatever, blessings or opportunities are actually coming my way. So just try and keep a good attitude and keep my head down, and opportunities tend to come to me like this one. So
yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to share as we wrap up? Anything else?
I just would say if you're looking to try one of my pizzas or see what we're all about, our Instagram once again is Professor Pizza. If you have a question or want to DM, I personally, get back to every single one of those that I can. And I hope to make you pizza soon.
Cool. Thank you guys. So this was Professor Pizza. Make sure you guys Google, leave a review, check them out, whatever you got to do. Check out the social media. And if you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe and leave a review. Cool.